Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dungeons and Drafting, a literary podcast for four epic authors join forces to combat evil and talk about all things publishing and the creative process, all while playing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm your GM, Tom Torre.
And my name is Brooks Benjamin. I am playing the character Nim.
I'm Sean Easley. I'm playing the character Wick.
And I'm MK England. I'm playing the character Dust.
Awesome, guys. So what's new with everyone? This is our second episode we're filming. I'm very excited to get into it, but what's everyone up to lately?
Well, let's see. Today is, March 25th? I have decided it's actually April. Some friends of mine and I are doing Camp NaNoWriMo together, and we just thought we'd start a week early. So we're going to have 5 weeks of camp instead of 4. I'm trying to blast through an adult rom-com, so we'll see what happens.
You are a brave soul.
Yeah. I cannot do NaNoWriMo. I tried it one time, and it stressed me out so much just seeing me not make the progress I was supposed to make. And I thought, oh my gosh.
I need deadlines. I don't do anything without deadlines, so NaNoWriMo works for me. But it's not for everybody.
It only works for me if I'm not tracking. I just can't do that.
Oh no, the tracking's the best. I gotta see the little chart go up. That's like the whole reason I do it.
Any tracking
my chart
I do
doesn't go up. It just kind of does this. And somehow it drops. When I work out drops, I'm like, I'm typing, but it's dropping.
You
But that's
just
impossible.
deleted
Revising.
your entire
It's
manuscript.
like NaNoWriMo, no.
Nano, no.
No, Ramo.
Nano, nope. This is quality content.
30 minutes later.
No.
So I acted like a dinosaur in the Civil War on stage
I
this
want
weekend.
a video of that.
What?
I need a
There's a video. There's actually a
There
video
is?
out there.
Oh my god, I need to find
Oh,
this
you
video.
said you want the video.
Yeah, I
Okay.
need, I need the video. The video must
Okay.
be...
I would
think
settle
there
for
is
photos.
one. I think there is one. I need to find it.
What's
Yeah.
funny is I thought you
Please
said
give the people
I
what they want,
acted
Sean.
like.
What'd you say, Brooks?
I thought you said I acted like a dinosaur during the Civil War era, and I was like,
Oh,
okay,
I acted out being
first thing.
in the Civil War
Okay.
when I was dancing too. That was really important to my motivations as a character. I was a dancing dinosaur in the Civil War,
That's all.
and I got killed by a girl who was on stage, and it's glorious. It was just the fight of the ages. So
That's
what I'm.
inspiring, man.
Wait, were you wearing one of those T-Rex costumes?
No,
That would have been great.
we were doing.
Fun fact, the library system I work for owns 2 of those.
Oh,
Listeners, subscribe to Patreon, and
Get us all.
you never
to
know
that
what
one.
might happen.
No, it was a middle grade madness. It was like a panel, but it was supposed to be like truth or dare, but it was really like dare or dare with a whole bunch of middle grade authors. There was Lisa McMahon and James Riley, and
All makes sense.
it was all of these people that were all standing. Stoman Chainani was leading the whole thing, and he.
Why am I not surprised?
Oh yeah, he was brutal. He was having middle grade authors like have to rap up in front of people, like come up with a rap on the spot, and it was
that's
intense,
phenomenal.
and it was absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, I'm sure there's footage somewhere.
We need it desperately. We have to have that.
Mm-hmm.
I have not done anything as exciting as that. I feel really bad that all I can say is we went to go see Us over
how
the
was that?
weekend.
That was
So good. I have so many theories about like things that Jordan Peele may have pulled from to actually create this story. I mean, there's a great social commentary, obviously, underlying this entire movie, but I mean, there's just so much to dissect from that movie. It's one of those films that like you go to the movie, sometimes you watch a movie, it's like you see it once, you're like, awesome, I'll watch it again in 3 or 4 years. And you don't really need to watch it ever again, but you leave that movie going, I need to immediately go back and watch that because I'm pretty sure I missed something or I picked something up. I want to verify that my theory's right. It's a great movie. It's so good.
It's definitely on my list to see. He's like a genius in terms of modern cinema now. He's definitely going to blow up.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna use this opportunity to admit one of my fatal flaws, which is I don't know actors. I don't know much of anything. I really do not keep up with movies that are coming out.
All right, we're gonna
So I don't
quiz
know
you
what
every
this movie
episode.
is.
It's true.
We'll quiz you later. We'll give you homework.
It'll be multiple choice. It's fine.
Great.
Yeah.
I saw How to Train Your Dragon. It was great.
Don't talk
I
about
cried
it.
a lot.
No, can't hear about it. I refuse to see it because I know what's gonna happen, and I refuse to accept it.
So many tears.
He can't leave. He
no.
can't leave. No, I refuse to accept it. No, it's not happening. We'll never see it. What am I doing? I'm taking a break from writing this week because I'm going to the PAX video game convention in Boston.
Oh,
I do that. It's my
I
one
wanna
like
go.
dedicated vacation every year. I just go. I watch their Dungeons and Dragons live show, which is amazing. Their
Mhm.
Acquisitions Inc.
Acquisitions Incorporated.
Acquisitions Inc. So good. But yeah, it's just an excuse for me to play board games, play video games, and just hang out with a bunch of nerds for 24/7 for 4 days.
That's amazing.
I love it.
I've always wanted to go.
Oh, you have to. It's my 6th or 7th year going. 6? I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I go every year.
I've been reading Penny Arcade since I was in high school, and that was like 15 years ago.
Last time I was there, I brought them a first edition, their first collection book they ever released under some crappy publishing label, and I brought that to them to sign, and they're like, "We haven't seen this book in like 15 years," and they just started telling me about the horror stories. Like they never paid us, we had to pay them to get it bound. I was like, "I'm sorry, like, can you sign it though? Because I want it signed."
Please sign this emblem of your pain.
Yeah, they're a pair of geniuses.
That's cool.
Yeah. And on that note, anything going on new in the book world with anybody?
I spoke at the Virginia Festival of the Book this past weekend, which was amazing. I was on a panel with V.E. Schwab, and I'm pretty sure I just sat there and made like heart eyes the whole time. I saw some pictures afterwards. It was a little embarrassing, actually. But it was a great panel. We had a great conversation with the audience, and it was honestly like one of my most satisfying days as an author ever. So
That's awesome.
Really, really happy with that. Yeah.
That's very cool. He's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still on sub. I'm currently, I got an email saying some more editors like requested the latest manuscript that I'm on sub. So that's always nice. Over halfway through with the one I'm writing, and you know, it's I've never written a manuscript this fast before. Normally I write 300 words a day, but today I ended up writing like 1,200, and I just can't stop writing on this.
Wow.
Manuscript. So
Keep going.
yeah,
Sorry for
really,
interrupting.
really good. So it's nice.
Yeah, and I went to the North Texas Teen Book Festival this weekend, and it was fantastic. There were so many people there. It was, I think they said that there were 14,000 people at the book festival, and they were almost all kids. It was really, really, really
Cool.
That's amazing.
And this week I'm finishing up my first pass pages on The Key of Lost Things and getting that off.
Yay!
I need that book. I need that book.
It's a bed.
So there will be an art tour for this group, right?
Yeah, sure. As long as I get them.
Okay, good.
Awesome.
No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you want to, right?
I guess also in the interest of full disclosure, we share the good and the bad on this podcast. So, 2 days before my wonderful, shining, book festival experience, my option books did get declined by my editor. So, sucked, but I think we have a plan for how we're going to handle them going forward. And I'm going to talk out some new ideas with my editor and see if she's interested in any of those. And I'm glad that the weekend, with the festival went so well to sort of balance that out and remind me why I do this kind of thing.
It's just a reminder that your passion is still writing, regardless of what kind of news we get, despite the news we get. As long as we love it, we still do it. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what negativity we get thrown at us. That's the moment you
Mm-hmm.
kind of know if writing's not for you. That moment you really just don't enjoy writing a story, regardless of how you think the outcome's going to be. That's when you kind of need to
Mm-hmm.
like step back a bit. But we all still love it.
Well,
So
it's
yeah.
yeah, it's like the teenagers who stop you and they're like, "I read your book and it was really important to me, and thank you." And I'm like,
Well,
"That's all I needed.
exactly.
I'm good to
Yeah.
go."
I think the only thing that happened to me is that my agent got back to me because I made changes to the book on submission, and then she's like, "Do you want to change your proposal?" I'm like, "Oh no, I don't want to touch that damn proposal again." I'm like, I thought I forgot about that, so of course I had to like go back and make changes to the proposal that I thought I would never have to look at again. But I made the
Sorry.
changes. I just dug myself a grave and did it because I was like, I don't want to deal with it.
A mean shadow that just follows you around.
I was debating just like I'll pretend I didn't see this email and she'll figure it out. I don't want to really do. Hi,
I'll
Dawn.
pretend I don't stalk my author inbox.
Oh man, yeah. Well, I guess are we ready to get back into our little adventure that we had going from last time?
Let's kill some stuff. Last time on Dungeons and Drafting, we three author adventurers found ourselves in a city known as the Crossroads, a point of travel with access to all worlds that have been created by bards far and wide. But the gateways to these worlds are closing, and the bards are suffering. In Crossroads, we met with Elaria Feywing, gatekeeper of the city and renowned bardic mentor. In her humble establishment, known as the First Draft Tavern, we heroically slaughtered an infestation of rats and insulted, torched, and beat with a wet towel a pair of poor, unsuspecting skeletons. As the dust settled and the flames died down, we found a shattered mystical orb, much like the ones the three of us carry. We're still not sure what they are, but the light inside of them is fading. Nim was, let's call it brave enough to walk up and grab the broken orb, only to see it summon a grimhound, a creature from a book he had written. It didn't attack us, thankfully, but it watched us with great curiosity until it vanished into the void, leaving behind a mystical die. Elaria knew it to be the die of Dungeons and Drafting, an object that only appears before the most creative bards. Yeah, that's us. She invited us to meet her in one of our most favorite places, the library, to learn the true nature of this mysterious item. So, to the library we go. Hopefully there won't be any fire this time.
Let's go find a key.
Or go to the library, I guess.
Yeah, well, we won't be killing anything yet. We're going to be journeying to a world of books, aka the library.
Ooh.
Okay, when we're there, we have to be respectful of people's property.
Brooks,
Sean, why are you looking at me?
Brooks, you have 7 Molotov cocktails in your inventory right now.
Yeah.
You found them on the way out from the bar. You're just like, oh, here they are. You just
Oh,
grab them.
that's so wonderful. Do I get to add those for real?
No, you do not. You do not get to add any Molotov cocktails to your inventory.
But I still have my pet rat, so.
You still have your pet rat and a bottle of bat pee. So you still have that.
Dude, oh my god. Do I really?
No, I didn't add a bottle of bat pee.
Oh.
It's
So
an
for our listeners,
inside
we were-
joke to all our listeners.
Yeah. We were talking about different things we could drink, and Tom had mentioned something super exotic he's going to put into his drink tonight because it's really cool. And I was like, bat pee? So, because that made sense to me.
Oh, and the super exotic drink I have is just lemonade. So there you go. That was my exotic addition to my whiskey. That's all I added.
That's what we should do also. Dungeons and since we're
Dungeons and
dungeons and
drinking.
drinking. Dungeons and drinking. Talk about what our drink is.
We've lost our middle grade label.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know
I've got-
about you guys, but I hate publishing.
let's talk about that.
And
I've got like 12-hour old coffee.
Yeah, we're not drinking.
Oh.
We'll go back.
Good people after
No.
that.
no, don't do it.
Don't go
Don't
back
do
to
it.
that.
Don't do it. Don't. Oh.
I'm not. Only if I get desperate. It's there for a reason.
I'm so
Sean, what are you
worried.
drinking?
I'm just drinking straight water. Just regular old
The hard
Special
stuff.
Yep.
hard water.
Hard water?
hard water.
It's very minerally. Yeah. And MK, what are you drinking? What's in your cold good day glass?
I got a whiskey ginger,
All
my
right,
go-to.
there you go. Whiskey ginger.
Oh.
All right, so let's creep back into our story. So I know we're gonna have a little last time segment, so be sure to listen to that if you haven't listened to it already. But right now, the three of you are leaving the tavern that you almost burnt down, thanks to Nim's little fireball creation that he made. So Elaria left in quite a huff, and she was carrying this green die in her hand that she claimed was called the Die of Dungeons and Drafting. She said, "Meet me at the library." So you all leave the tavern. You're able to see now how really big this city of the Crossroads is. Is gigantic, but strange thing is, as big as it is, it's also pretty barren. Nobody's really around. Nobody's walking the streets. All the shops are boarded up and closed. There's a few vendors selling wares, but they look pretty old and beat up, and nothing that you would expect from a city that apparently connects all the worlds that bards create. Um, to the west, you see the endless ocean of woodlands. They make you feel lost just looking at it. It feels like it's swallowing the city. And in the north, you see a really massive mountain range. Right at the base of it is this crystal-looking lake. As you could actually, even from the distance where you are now, you could practically see into the bottom. It's like just so still and so shimmering that you could. You're this far away, but you swear you can see fish swimming in this lake. It's just magical how clear it is. Um, in the distance, while you're looking around the city, the library is pretty apparent from where it's standing. It's this looming building right in the center of the crossroads. But it bends and curves, and it looks like layers upon layers were built upon it over the years to add new wings to this library. It looks as if it was built by some sort of madman because it really makes no sense as to how it was built. But you kind of think about what creator isn't a little bit crazy sometimes, and it pretty much just calls you to go inside it. But this library is not just any library as you step into it. It has a collection of pretty much every book in existence, but not only that, it has every book that's both been written and hasn't been written yet. So think about that for a second. It has every idea that's ever been just conjured up in a bard's mind. You're inside, but there's no sign of Elaria anywhere, and this library is huge. You have no idea where she would be. It would take hours to figure out where she went. There's doors upon doors. Um, but as you enter, there's this long table, and it looks like it was one of the people who maybe work in the library. And there's this lone person just sitting there, surrounded by a pile of crumpled paper, and he's scribbling away on a piece of parchment, and he just stares at it for a second, gets really angry, starts growling to himself, crumbles it up and throws it to the ground. And he has a stack of books next to him, and he picks up one, looks at it, throws it to the side, picks up another, starts flipping through the pages, throws that aside. He picks up another book, and he just drops it down to his lap, and he just lets out a sigh. And he looks at you, and he's just basically looking at you as if, what do you want? Maybe there's an idea. Maybe he knows where Elaria is.
Well, I'll go pick up the piece of parchment that he crumpled up and uncrumple it and put it back on the table in front of him and be like, yo, you never know what's going to come in handy later. Don't just throw it away.
So
everything okay, bud?
So he just looks at you and he's like, I just can't do it. I need to find my inspiration. I just can't find it. All these books, I thought I'd find it here. He's looking at you and he's just scratching his eyes like this as if he's been working nonstop. And they're covered in ink, so when he rubs his fingers on his face, he kind of like smears like a little makeshift goatee on his face, and he doesn't mean to. And he's like, why are you here in the first place?
I stop looking around for an empty wine bottle to add to my collection, and approach him and ask him what he's working on right now.
So he looks at his crumpled papers at the table, and he's like, I'm just trying to write my new idea. He's just muttering to himself right now. And he's like, what do you want?
I need some logic. Sean.
What?
So, Elaria, you know her? You seen her? She here?
So he looks up again. He's like, Elaria, why do you want to find Elaria?
She told us.
Look, I was asking you questions. You weren't giving me answers, so this is not going to happen. Not the little like cheerful conversation. Where's Elaria?
So he's getting annoyed right now. So he rubs his eyes again.
Yeah, same.
And he's like, you know what? You want to know where Alari is? Why don't you help me out? Why don't you tell me where you get your inspiration from, huh? And now we're gonna do a little break for some tavern talk, folks.
Tavern talk.
Yeah.
So, where do you guys get your inspiration from when you're writing?
Taking breaks more often than this guy.
Yeah, seriously.
I will say that not every time, but I here recently have gotten a bunch of inspiration from some of my students. For those that don't know, I'm also a fifth grade teacher. So I do teach elementary school, and
Adorable.
I love teaching. I love the students that I have, honestly. I mean, they are almost like family in a way. But just listening to their conversations, I mean, they'll eat with me in the room, and I just get to listen to them go back and forth, and at recess they're talking, and of course they'll tell me things, and it's just so much fun hearing them talk about things that they like, games that they're playing, other people that they like, and just hearing some of the things that run through their mind on a daily basis, things that I would never think as an adult, are important, but to them it's absolutely life and death type scenario important. And it's so adorable, but you gotta, as a teacher, be very serious, and you can't be the friend, you have to be the teacher. But I get so much inspiration off things that I hear them say and hear them talk about that drives quite a few of my stories in certain directions at times.
Yeah, you have like an endless well of knowledge by just teaching your target audience. Like you basically have like you have a pot of gold right there just to find ideas.
I really do. I really lucked out, honestly, and each one of my students is so different. Hearing them, it's wonderful. I have a huge cast of characters in my class, so that's fun.
Yeah. I get a little bit of the same, but just not nearly to the level that you do. I see my teens at the library maybe once a week. I see some kids and teens every single day, but my core group, I really only see them about once a week. And of course they are wonderful, and getting to, hang out with them and hear their thoughts on books and see them put on programs at the library and put so much effort and creativity into things, like definitely, stokes my ideas. But I feel like I get a lot of my sort of direct inspiration for things that I'm working on from just consuming other media. It's playing video games, it's reading other books. I listen to tons of audiobooks, like, sometimes 2 or 3 a week.
Wow.
And well, I have a long commute. And, going to the movies occasionally, like when I actually know what's playing. And it's usually whatever random like animated kids movie is out right now. So all of those things together, I don't necessarily get direct ideas from them, but, just seeing other storytelling done well gets me in the mood to write. Or, it'll be something small like, oh, I see how they took a bad situation and made it worse there. Now I see that that's what I need to be doing at this point in this book where I was kind of stuck,
That's a good point.
Yeah, there's nothing that gets me going as much as seeing another good story told well. Like I like the way you said it. It's just there, and I may not take direct inspiration on like what I'm going to write, but there's like it does inspire me in that, like, man, I just want to do something as well as that person did that book, like, or that show that I just finished watching The Dragon Prince.
Sean, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Incredible! It's so good, and I'm like, I just
want
really
to write
want
a
to do
story
something
like
that good at some point. And so that definitely inspires me. Another thing, like when it comes to like direct inspiration for things that end up in my stories, like sure, there's tons of people in my life and everything that I draw from, but when it comes to like one of the things that is just super true of me and people laugh at me about is I research everything. Like the moment I have a question, I don't hesitate. My phone is out. I am looking it up. I'm reading.
Same.
And then, it'll be 20 minutes later. I'm still reading about some completely obscure thing that nobody around me cares about. And I'll just like pipe up in the middle of the conversation. Did you know that this? And you're still
I
on
care,
that?
Sean. Share with me.
Ron is really fun at parties.
I want to know all the things.
And it's like, to me, the world is just fascinating. There's just so much in it.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere, and so many things I don't know, and it's what I don't know that fascinates me and draws me and makes me want to learn more, so that I can then, if I'm excited about anything, I want to tell everyone. Like the moment I decided this is interesting, you're probably going to hear about it, and then you're going to probably be really tired of me telling you about it really quickly. But I think it's just that sharing. Like I want to share it in some way, and sometimes I think the best way to do that is by telling a story about it.
Mm. That is such a hardcore Ravenclaw thing to say, and it appeals to me so much. I am definitely the same way. Always looking stuff up on my phone. We'll have to go through and like figure out everybody's Hogwarts houses at some point. I know this is not the time, but
definitely
it's got to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think with me, I'm so glad you brought up Dragon Prince, Sean, because I remember I was talking to you about it in Twitter DMs. And I'm like, I guess I'm gonna have to just watch it. And then I watched like 3 episodes, and I messaged you immediately. I'm like, I have to like quit work and just binge watch this show right now, because yeah, watching or reading something so well done where it basically follows the formula to perfection just makes you want to do the same thing with a different story. And a lot of my story ideas don't come from it, but most of my story ideas come from music and just sitting down and listening to different music. And it may sound corny, but I've been going to a lot of Lincoln Center, like orchestrated shows with like Mozart and everything. And I just got back from seeing or hearing the Requiem piece by Mozart. And I was just sitting there, and my wife is looking at me, and I'm just like sort of just staring into space. And the intermission starts. I'm like, I have to get up, go outside, and write on my phone right now, because I have an idea in my head that I just have to get somewhere, because I have 15 minutes to write it down before the intermission's over, and I just have to do it. But most of my
Cool.
all my inspiration comes from listening to music at weird moments. Like the book that you read, Brooks, that I just wrote, I got from one song I listened to from a synthwave band, which is really weird for a middle grade book to come out of a synthwave song. But it's a song about driving in a car and getting away from life. And I was like, well, that's what my book is about. Getting in a car and driving away from, and the whole idea was formulated from a song, and it was bizarre to me how it just evolved out of that. And I'll be listening to songs as I'm walking down the street, and like I said, I'll just have to stop and type like a little 3-sentence thing about what the book idea I have is about, just based on a few verses of song, or it could be like lyrical songs or orchestrated pieces. But just weird how like music could trigger something in your brain to just get the creative juices flowing. And it just
Maybe
really,
in some past life you were a musician.
I
and
was
that's
Mozart.
triggering some genetic memory. You were Mozart.
You were literally Mozart.
I do want to point out too that you guys talked about listening or reading something that really inspired you, and I want to give a quick shout out, if I can, to Ronald L. Smith. His latest book, The Owls Have Come to Take Us Away. It's an amazing middle grade novel, and honestly, it's like one of my favorite books now. I love that book so much. I tore through it in just a few hours. It's just so good, and it's got his nice spooky tone that Ron's just really well known for, but it's got so much more than that. And after reading that, immediately I was hit with an idea. It's like, oh my gosh, I want to write this book right here. And I even had the title for the book, which, if you know me, titles are like
the worst.
Yeah, the worst. I'm horrible at titles. I've never come up with a title of my own. But yeah, I came up with even the title of it, and I was like, I knew exactly what the story was because I read that book. So that was a super inspiring book. So yeah, awesome. Keep writing those books, because they're amazing.
I'm gonna post a picture of his book right in front of the video so you can see it.
It's right here.
Yeah, there's
Can you put it right here like I'm holding it?
Yeah, it's in your hands right now, Books. I will Photoshop that in. Don't worry.
That was me kissing the book. You couldn't see my lips because the book was in front of it.
yeah, I think that concludes our little tavern talk, unless anyone else wants to throw anything in. No, we're all good. Cheers to you.
We
Good
clink
tavern.
again.
Yeah, let's clink. Clink.
We're back.
You didn't do the thing, Sean. Do the
Sean,
thing.
do the thing, or you don't get back to Dungeons and Dragons. That's the rule.
I'll just sit over here in the corner.
More like Dungeons and Downer.
Oh.
Oh, I'm just.
Oh, that face! Look what you did.
Go back.
Go ahead and cry.
Now you know I'm a Hufflepuff. I immediately felt bad. I was like,
Okay, so we're back in the little world of the Crossroads, and this bard is sitting at his table still, and he's staring at you after you've gone through your conversation with them. And his eyes lit up a little bit, and he leans back in his chair, and he's like, you know, right? My inspiration is out there somewhere. I'll find it, and I'll help you find Elaria. So follow me. So
And then maybe take a break, dude. Just saying.
he shoots you a look and glares at you because he doesn't have time for breaks. So
Everybody has time for breaks. Look after yourself, man.
So you follow him up this winding staircase that leads up to another awkward, dark section of the library that would have no idea how to get there on your own anyway. He opens the door and sort of motions you to go inside. So what you see now right in front of you is that room that Elaria is in. She's busy working at something at her desk. She hasn't seen you walk in yet. So it's up to you guys now.
I immediately, okay, here's what I'm going to do, because Nim, you guys don't know this yet, but Nim is one with the shadows. Nim slinks over into the behind this bookshelf, and
If you
that's
stab
where,
her, I'm gonna be mad.
what?
I said, if you stab her, I'm gonna be mad.
No, I'm not going to attack. I'm just, actually, no, Nim's not going to do that. Nim's being weird. Stop it, Nim. Quit. Stop.
Takes out a Molotov cocktail.
Yeah, right.
Nim reaches into his satchel, pulls out the elderberry wine, and goes, eh?
No drinks in the library.
Well, okay. Decided to put that back.
Elaria's still just working at her table. She doesn't see you. She doesn't see you messing around with Molotovs yet.
Let's go over there. Should we? Should we approach her?
Let's approach her. I'll say, Elaria, thank you for bringing us to one of our favorite places on, well, I would say Earth, but our favorite places. We like libraries. Libraries are good.
They're good. Support your local library.
Support your local library.
She turns around and she looks at you. She nods. She's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you could come here." She's like, I've been researching this dye that we've discovered, and I think I know what it is."
Do tell.
Well, tell us more. Don't keep us in suspense.
So she holds it
Next
up.
time on Dungeons and Dragons.
Exactly right. Da, da, da. Thus concludes our episode. No, so she holds up the dye, which seems to be like trembling in her hand a little bit, and
That can't be good.
she says, "This dye only appears for one reason. The creators of this world and all the others around need help. They need someone to guide them. This dye only appears when questions need to be answered. And the question needs to be answered now, or would it have appeared? One of you needs to roll it. But be careful, there's no telling what happens once the die is rolled." So she's holding it in her hand, but all of a sudden it flies out on its own free will and lands in the darkness.
I attack the darkness.
You attack the
I
dark.
was born in the darkness.
I cast magic missile. All right.
Sorry,
Where am
just moving those things up for you guys.
Excellent.
So what you see right before you, there are unlit braziers near the library.
It's time to make some fire.
I? Oh dear.
Nim shudders a little bit with delight, pulls out his tinderbox. lights the match, watches the flame grow, and then just recede.
I pull out my water skin just in case.
Hey, before we do that,
Where's that wet towel?
can I just use my magic and light up the room?
Damn it, John! I mean, dang it.
I'm gonna cast fairy fire.
Can we ask for the
Outline
key?
everything in a green.
Then does one of these things.
Such pure logic.
Puts the match out, shakes his head at Wick.
So where are you casting fairy fire?
Into this dark space in the center of the room
Okay.
where we saw the die disappear into.
Okay. So
I use prestidigitation to create a sparkle of like rainbow glitter right where he casts his light,
right.
Ooh.
I'll create a little
brightening things up here.
right here. Where is it? There you go. See the glitter is forming right there. All your little glitter.
Yeah, we do. This is pretty.
All the
Thank
lights.
you.
All the lights are lighting up.
Good job, Dust. That was really dramatic.
That was good teamwork. High five.
So let me go ahead and light up this area for you right now. Give me 1 moment, please.
Why am I over here all by my lonesome? There.
So I'm gonna go ahead and light this up.
Light it up.
Yeah, I was about to sing that. We are bards.
Ah!
And I'm going to need you all to roll for initiative.
No! Is he sparkly?
The little
yeah.
purple thing is your fairy fire dice. Hold on. Let me.
Character sheet.
I'm gonna have you guys. You need to reroll because there's like 80 of you on here. Hold on. Let me. It wasn't cleared from last time, so you guys can reroll again.
Okay. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it slightly better.
Into my own toe.
Wick is like, where y'all at?
No joke.
Ooh, my little ghouls have rolled pretty high.
I'm sorry, did you say ghouls with an S?
Ghouls.
I heard a distinct pluralization of the word.
There
I
are
did too,
ghouls.
and I didn't like it.
You know what ghouls hate?
Fire?
Fire.
Fire. So, Wick, you are first to go. Whoa, why are you moving around on my screen so much? Okay, never mind. There you go. You're fine now.
Can you describe
Anthony's ready.
us a little bit? Like, what are they doing?
Oh yeah, sure. So the ghoul itself right here, it is just looking at this dice that landed right, the die that landed right in front of it. It's kind of like cackling a little bit and like poking it with a bone that it has in its hand. Doesn't know what it is, but you also don't know why ghouls are here in the first place. You hear a bunch of movement since you cast that fairy fire within the rows of the library. So something is skittering up and down the rows.
I never like the word skittering under any circumstances.
There's a whole bunch of skittering going on right now.
No. This is the reason for my bad initiative. I'm like,
So
Your
your initiative may be bad, but you currently do have advantage over this ghoul who's just looking at this die.
because I covered him in glitter, I know.
Yeah, the glitter is currently on him. He's all pretty now.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna feel worse when I stab him now.
No, you won't.
So what do you think, guys? Should I attack it or should I try to do something else?
It's
Whispering to my comrade.
I mean, if this die is a super powerful, mystical, magical, mysterious object, maybe we shouldn't let a ghoul get it?
It's true.
All right.
I turn to Wick and say, "Go get him, Ray."
All right. I go up behind it and I stab it in the back with a short sword.
Yes.
I meant pick up the die, but you know, you do you, buddy.
Okay, roll twice because you have advantage. All right, well, that hits. That does. So you go right behind it, and you give a little swipe with your short sword. It digs right into his shoulder blade and pierces down through his chest. And his left arm seems to like dangle off a little bit, but it's still attached. And it just turns around to face you and goes like, does a weird noise. Is why'd you just hurt me? But let me deduct some damage from that guy right here.
Does anyone speak Ghoulish?
I do not.
So, Wick, why don't you move up towards where that ghoul is? I'm assuming you're right next to it now. So this ghoul, it's looking at you right in the face with this arm still dangling off, and what it does is it flails this arm that's dangling off and kind of like whips it at you, like an arch right at your body, and it's
Ooh.
going to go for an attack against you right here.
He whips his arm back and
So
forth.
he had a 6, which I don't think hits your armor.
Oh.
So that his arm just sort of like flops to the side and kind of bends backwards and is like, he's looking at it all weird. But as he moans, like you hear another object come out from
Uh-oh.
the shadows.
Oh, it's on. We do have ghouls. Oh my gosh.
No.
So many ghouls.
And now it is up to you, Dust.
Dislike. All right. I am gonna try and get this die away from them. So I am gonna forget about the ghoul and run up and try and pick up that die.
Okay, so I'm going to need you to do an Arcana check.
Oh, I probably fail. Let's see. Not so smart about the Arcana. Nope.
So
I have a hand.
So as soon as you pick up this die, it shimmers, and you feel your body all of a sudden become rigid, and you just fall to the side as the die flees from your hand and rolls to the other side of the library corridor right here, right between the two ghouls. And you're just lying there prone, and you can't move right now, and you hear this noise in your head as it's like a buzzing sound that just won't stop right now. And you could swear you hear a voice, but you can't make it out.
I don't like it.
So right now, this other ghoul here is looking at the die, is kind of looking away from the party right now, is just following this die, seems to be attracted to it. Nim.
All right. I am going to advance a little bit, and I will draw my crossbow, and I'm going to aim it at the ghoul that's right near Dust and Wick, and I'm going to try to finish this one off with a quick shot to the head. So, kablow!
All right, that's a hit right there. So you connect with it. It doesn't do much damage. It goes right through one side of his skull and the other, and he's just looking up at his head as this arrow is just pierced through his skull, and he's like, and he's really confused right now because first his arm's hanging off, and now there's an arrow through his head, and he just looks back at you. He looks kind of upset right now. I'm not gonna deny it. He looks pretty
I don't blame him.
pretty sad.
I feel so bad attacking it. It looks bad.
Wick.
So are any of these look like this one that we've attacked doesn't seem to like he just seems more disoriented than anything. Are the others like coming after us? Like do they look angry? Do they look hostile?
The one next to the die is pretty much just staring at it. It's not really paying attention to you. It was attracted by the noise the other ghoul was making. The one over here seems to be looking around as to where the commotion is coming from. I don't think it sees you yet.
Okay. Then I am going to I'm going to attack the ghoul in front of me again quickly and try to finish it off.
Okay, that hits, but it's not doing too much damage to it. You do another 4 damage to it. It's really like its bits and pieces are pretty much hanging off this ghoul, but it's not really looking like it's going down anytime soon.
Man, this is a tough ghoul.
So this ghoul is going to go ahead and walk up to you, Nim, and it's like, just like the arrow just pierced through his head still. His arm is dangling. It's got half of his chest cavity open, and it's just crawling after you. This other ghoul comes around the corner and finally sees a commotion, but isn't in range right now to make any sort of move. But this one is going to go ahead and attack you, Nim. And
Ooh,
it's going to try to, its jaw kind of drops open and it kind of lunges forward to try to take a bite out of you.
no hit.
No hit. So it
Jaw
sort of
back
it sort of
there.
just gives you a kiss on the cheek instead, because it's just
You feel vaguely uncomfortable.
its jaw just like, and it just gives you like a smooch, and you just feel like you just smell the rot coming off of it.
Okay, that's gross. I'm gagging.
So Dust, you're still lying prone on the ground right now. Like your body's a little bit frozen, but the voice is becoming clearer, and is basically saying to you, you hear a few things in your mind right now. It's you must, and that's all you
Must
hear.
stop laying here like a corpse.
So as your eyes are open and you see something above you, and you're not sure what it is, but it's hovering above you, and it seems to be growing in the way it's formed. You didn't see it a second ago, but as the battle is raging on, it's beginning to take shape.
Creepy.
Okay, Nim.
That's scaring me. All right. Let's see. Oh, it's my go. Yes. All right. What I'm going to do is the one attacking me, the one with the arrow in its head.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to like pull the arrow out of its head and shove it right into his heart.
Oh,
I'm going to try to.
violent. So violent.
Okay, why don't you do
I didn't ask for him to kiss me.
why don't you do a strength check on that one?
All right.
Okay, it does a little bit of damage to it. You pierce that heart, and the arrow gets stuck in his chest though. But the ghoul's still moving around, but it definitely looks like it's about to go down a little bit.
Okay.
And Wick.
Okay, I'm gonna come over and try to grab the die again. So I pick up the die.
All right, so give me an Arcana check, please. Okay, the die trembles in your hand, and it pulses with light as you're looking at it, and all of a sudden it flies out of your hand again, but you feel fine. You're not suffering the same effects as Dust is. And it lands right in front of Dust again, but this time this creature appears fully and is standing over all of you. And it basically, as it's looking over you, goes, You must answer this. And as this dice is rolling in front of it, it just explodes out with light. And you're all knocked to the ground, prone, in front of it. And you all drop. And it's hovering over you, and all these ghouls are just looking at it. And they seem to be enthralled by this creature that's just appeared out of nowhere. They're not paying attention to you, but instead they're looking at it and the die beneath it.
You must answer this question.
And as you're lying prone, you pull away, and it asks you, why did you write middle grade? Why did you write young adults?
Is that specifically to me?
It's you first. You
Okay.
get the die.
So I worked with students for a long time. I both my parents were teachers. There's just been my undergrad degree. I did education in my master's. Like it's always been, education in general has always been really interesting to me. And at first I thought I wanted to write young adult just because I understood that age group. And it seemed like it was just a really formative time, a lot of things going on. But then I actually had a friend who was reading my stuff and said that I ought to try middle grade. And what she said was that she started pointing out the themes that I was doing, that it was all about growing into who you're going to be and learning what the world is really like. And that my themes naturally in everything that I write tend to follow along middle grade patterns of learning what your place is in the world, despite the fact that there are limitations on you. And two, just like learning that the world isn't what you thought it was. That's always been a big thing for me. And it's always been a theme that just kind of runs through everything that I write. And two, like middle grade in particular is just such a interesting time of life. Like it's there's so many things that are going on. One of the things I was talking about with somebody this weekend was the fact that that age group, they're kind of like playing dress up in personalities. They're kind of figuring out who they're going to be, or they're just figuring out how people are going to respond to them if they act a certain way, or if they dress a certain way, or if they value certain things. They're experimenting with all of that, and then figuring out which of those things that they like, and they'll do that with different groups of people. And for a kid who's experiencing that, like when I was a kid and I was figuring out who I was going to be, books played a big role in that for me. I mean, it was a place where I escaped from things that scared me and things that were a little overwhelming, and it taught me how to handle all of that, and they were so important for me that I like doing that. I like exploring that.
That's awesome. So interesting. I think I have kind of a different relationship to books, but it influenced me writing YA in a really similar way. For me, books were like adventure and power and ambition and just like all of that fire for taking on the universe. And that is such a thoroughly YA kind of sensibility in a lot of ways. I really love that transition point that's especially in upper YA, around that age 17 or so, where you're like, I guess I'm supposed to start trying to be an adult now. And I don't know how I'm going to do that. I guess I have to figure out, it's figuring out who you're going to be, but in a different way than in middle grade. It's figuring out how you're going to strike out on your own and how you're going to come into your own power and your own agency. And that fascinates me. And it's what fascinates me about working with teenagers, starting to see them develop that independence and that like more concrete sense of self and that idea of what they can do, if they just let themselves do it. I love seeing that, and I love writing that into my books, and I love writing characters who can, own their power and do amazing things with it.
For me, it's a lot of kind of touching on what Sean said too. And I love the expression, trying on different personalities, almost like, playing dress up in different personalities. It's that most innocent curiosity that the middle grade aged kids and tweens and preteens, whatever you want to call them, have, that I just really, really love. And I think it's also part of me being a teacher. I have so much hope for, kids that age, like elementary, middle school. I have so much hope because, where we tend to, as adults, see things that divide us, kids actively look for things that are, going to bring them together, especially, with their friend groups and stuff. And I mean, that's not to say that, once they get into especially middle school age, that there are going to be kids out there that are trying to divide, because that definitely happens. But, um, I see kids every single day as a teacher who come into my classroom who have absolutely no reason to smile at all because of things that they're going through at home, things that are working against them. They, for all intents and purposes, they should be a miserable person, yet they find reasons to smile. They find reasons to be happy. And I don't know if it's a survival thing or if it's that's the age when you're able to look past certain things and find beauty or hope or happiness in smaller things that we as adults don't really find anymore. But that fascinates me and it gives me so much hope. And that's one of the reasons that I love writing for middle grade because um, not only are they, just wonderful, wonderful human beings, it's, they give me so much hope as an adult. And I want to kind of bring that hope into each of my stories, no matter what I'm writing, to hopefully readers will read, and go, yeah, life can be horrible, life can be sucky and mean and cruel, but, there are things to hope for, reasons why we should hope.
I like that you said that, Brooks, and that I'm thinking about both YA and middle grade. That hope, like, seems like in stories, a lot of the time you've got these character arcs that can seem so false because they happen so quickly. But when you're talking about kids, when you're talking about teenagers and middle graders, and like they go through those huge changes over the course of a short period of time,
Mm-hmm.
they can have hope because they are changing that much. And then the stories that we're able to tell in YA middle grade, we're able to like explore that in a like genuine way.
True. Absolutely true. Yeah. And I think it's, doesn't go without saying that I think those stories that explore a lot of the difficult times, difficult things that kids go through, I think that's extremely important to put into stories. I definitely, don't think that 100% of the books that get released need to be, happiness, rainbow, sunshine, cupcakes. We need to get into, especially even in middle grade, we need to get into some of those, topics that, a lot of kids are dealing with and, kind of infuse that hope into them because, like you were saying, books were a way that an escape for you, a place where you felt safe. And I think for I know a lot of my students, especially one student I'm thinking of right now who constantly has his head in a book. And it's because that's an escape route for him. Because as soon as he closes that book, he's back in his reality. And it's horrible. But as soon as he has that book open, he doesn't have to mess or deal with that anymore. So, showing that bad things can happen, but we do actually, it does get better. Things, there's a reason to hope. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Even with some of the stuff like with I'm writing with middle grade, I think one of the reasons I sort of got into middle grade in the first place, going back to what you said about how kids at this age are going through so much stuff that is sometimes the first time they're going through it. As adults, we've been through these situations numerous times and we've sort of grown accustomed to how to deal with it. But in middle grade, this is kind of like their first incident happening, and when they're having that first encounter. I like the opportunity to write something for kids where they don't know how to react or if they're reacting the right way to certain situations. And I feel like that's always coming out in books I'm writing now. And even like the book I have on submission is all about coping with death. And like, a middle grade student doesn't want to think about that, but it happens to so many middle grade students dealing with the death of a loved one or death of a friend. Like, how do you deal with that? Or how do you deal with having a handicap? How do you deal with all these situations that you're not told how to deal with it. And as a kid in that age, the only thing you could turn to sometimes is a media source like a book to help you guide through those situations. Because sometimes as a kid, you're afraid to ask those questions too, on how do I deal with this?
True.
How do I handle this? And that's why sometimes they go to these books because they can help give them the answers. And pulling out of that aspect, I also like being able to. I don't act my age at all, and I like being able to act like a kid.
Really?
I'm I'm 15 and I act like I'm old. But it's I can't believe some people say like, when are you gonna grow up? I'm like, never. Like, why do I have to? I mean, I enjoy writing
I
these
get that
stories.
all the
It's like,
time.
why do I have to grow up? Like, what is growing up? Why can't I still
Yeah.
appreciate the things I do? Why can't I play my games, watch my weird movies, do these things that
Mm-hmm.
some adults frown upon? And then like people say like, why are you writing for kids? I'm like, why would I want to write for kids? Kids are having a blast, like living life. Like their problems are different, their experiences are different, but we look back in our childhood sometimes, and like that innocence of youth is so hard to recapture. I don't mind trapping myself by writing books about that because I like to re-experience everything that has happened in my life and just be a kid constantly as I'm writing these books.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, to go back.
I know,
Moving
right?
on.
Well, and it's the last thing, and then I'll wrap up. But I think in some ways too, it's a way for me to go back and recapture, some things that I wish I had had at that age. At 16, I was not owning my own power. I was absolutely letting other people control me. I was giving my power away for all the wrong reasons. So being able to write characters that have, so much agency and so much willingness to just dive into things and go for it, that it's almost healing for me to go back and kind of, you know, give myself a little bit of that, undo, control Z.
So you brilliantly answered the question brought forth to you by this creature, and it sort of fizzles out, and it just
With
says,
glitter.
it says, "Thank you." So,
For the glitter.
You're welcome.
so the die itself flies away from this creature, and it goes up to Elaria, and she grabs it in her hand, and she just holds it. The creature's still there, however. However, it faded away, but now it's solidified into this dark mass, and is basically charging towards Elaria and the dice. But it basically has caused explosions as it walks by where Elaria is. And these ghouls have basically just been decimated by these explosions as it races towards Elaria. And they really seem to be falling apart at the seams right now, and they take a ton of heavy damage. The one right beside you, name, is basically about to go. It won't take much, and the other ones are practically gone. So Alaria looks at you and she's like, "Handle the others. I'll handle this one."
Ooh, sounds good.
So we're gonna move. So Wick, you're the one who pressed it. So the ghouls are gonna make their first moves right here. Um, one is going. Oh, and you're all back from being prone. You jump up and you're completely okay. You're ready to go. This first ghoul is going to go after you, Dust, and it's going to take a little swipey swipe at you with its claws.
I dodge. I do not dodge.
Oh,
Do you dodge? You don't dodge? All right. So it takes a pretty.
Well, I don't know which one of those two numbers. My AC is a 14, so.
Oh, yeah. No, it misses. So there you go. It claws down, but it swipes and misses and just tears apart a whole row of books right next to you.
No!
dare
Hit me
you.
instead!
So this other
I
one.
throw myself in front of the books.
Guys, these ghouls hate books.
You take 1 damage saving the books.
Worth it.
This other
I,
ghoul's running around,
my
still on
respect for you
fire.
increases tenfold.
So this one ghoul over here is still blaze in holy fire, and it just seems to drop right at your feet, Nim, and just turns into a pile of ash, so you don't even
Oh,
see it anymore. But this other one, Wick, is attacking you
Glittery
right
ash.
now. Glittery ash. And this one right next to you, Wick, is gonna try to take a bite out of you.
And crime.
So it's the number on the right. So do I
who is this? For
Wick?
Wick?
Yeah, Wick.
Oh, okay.
For me, yeah, it hits.
Okay. Let me get damage. 2d6.
Ouch.
So it takes a pretty big chunk out of you right there.
Yeah.
So Elaria up here is looking at this massive shadow beast, and she's looking at it, and she's summoning this spell that you've never seen before, but she's going to go ahead and cast a fireball. No, she's going to do a lightning bolt right at it.
Whoa.
So I'm going to go ahead and take, it's going to do 8d6 damage.
Wow.
Let me do a saving throw. Hold on.
Go Elaria.
Against that thing.
Has to do a dexterity saving throw, and it fails miserably. So this lightning bolt just strikes through it. D6. Hold on. 8d6 is gonna be destroyed right now.
Oh yeah.
I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say, I'm just gonna say this thing is absolutely fizzled away into nothingness, and it just screams as Elaria sends this lightning bolt that is streaking down like this. You can see it on your screen right now. I'm just gonna go,
Oh yeah.
and that
Cool.
thing just explodes in front of you. So these ghouls see it. Oh, I didn't mean to do that, but okay, never mind. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean the ghoul to shoot out a laser beam from his eye, but so the other ghouls see it and start to go after what Elaria just did, and they're moving up towards her. And Dust, it's your turn now.
I am gonna double slash at this guy right in front of me. That is number 1. Bam.
Wow. Okay.
Crit.
That thing is sliced in 2 and
Ooh.
drops immediately. It's just a pile of flesh and bone at your feet.
Excellent.
That was good.
Did that take both hits, or can I stab the other guy with the other hit?
Yeah, you're gonna go ahead and stab the other one. So that one, your blades basically swipe through the first one and connect right with the second one and dig right into his torso, and that thing basically stumbles back and goes close to this brazier right here. And now it's up to you, Nim.
All right. Well, before I attack, I lean down and pick up a nice glittery scoop of ghoul dust and put it in my satchel because there's going to be a use for this later, I'm sure. And while this ghoul is staggering like this because of the awesome attack by my friend, I run up behind the ghoul and I shove its head into the brazier.
Wow.
Oh.
Okay. Why don't you do a strength check for me?
All right.
Friend is a little strong. He's shoving heads in fire.
Okay. So that you basically take his head and you drench it into these brazier flames, and let's see how much. I'm gonna do a D8 right here. Wow. Okay. So that creature just goes in flames and is basically running around the library on fire,
Oh, again?
Don't light the books.
It's screaming in terror as it's lighted fire, but it just collapses at its feet and turns into another pile of ash right next to you.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna scoop up a pile of that ash too, put it in a different pocket because I don't want to get it mixed in with the glitter. Just in
So
case.
you don't hear anything else moving around in this library, and Elaria looks at you. She's breathing a little heavy because she hasn't exerted that much energy in a long time. And she picks up the die and puts it in her pocket of her robe. And she says, I didn't know that would come out of it. I think we need to do more research. So she beckons you forward to her desk.
Research.
Come with us, Dust.
Coming. Sorry, I was getting excited about research.
So
Nim let an audible groan.
So on this desk, she has a pile of papers, and she places the die in the center. She holds up her finger, and she says, I completely forgot. You already taken care of the problems in the tavern, and now you've saved this library from destruction. And she pats on the boxes, and she says, go ahead, take a look.
I look, is it money?
So one of the boxes has some money in it, but there's 3 other ones. And each of these boxes has a different symbol on it, an engraving. One has an engraving of an iron key with a room number on it. Besides that is a box with an engraving of what looks like a pair of sneakers. And beside that is another box with an engraving of an astronaut's helmet. And these are all sealed with a lock.
I reach for the one with the key.
I'll reach for the one with the sneakers.
I cleave open the one with the space helmet.
All right,
I lockpick it with my sword.
All right, why don't you do a strength check?
We all know how that's going to go, and it's going to be embarrassing. So I'll reach for the box.
Natural 1. I'm begging Stephanie for a natural 1 here. I just want to hear it happen.
Game over. You destroy everything.
All right, so you're not attacking it. You're just taking it.
I will just take it for now.
All right, so Elaria looks at you. She's like, I'm sorry. I know these boxes are yours, but I don't know how to open them. And so if you want to take a closer look at the boxes, you can. If you want to do any sort of
I'll take a closer look with my thieves' tools.
No, you can go ahead and try.
Nope.
Yeah, you don't see anywhere to put the thieves' tools on this box. The lock does not look like a typical lock. It looks like a shape.
Like what kind of shape?
Why don't you do a investigation? What's a good
A
check?
kindergarten check.
You do a kindergarten check. What shape goes into what hole?
I'll investigate mine.
Yeah. I would like to investigate mine as well.
All right, go ahead and investigate your boxes. All right. So Wick and Dust are kind of like looking at their boxes like they don't know what it is. But Nim is like, aha! And looks at the box and is like, guys, it's in the shape of a die.
I'm not touching that thing. I know what happened last time.
All right, so Elaria goes to,
The box is in the shape of a die?
The lock is in the shape of a die.
Oh, the lock.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Elaria goes to, that's right. She's like, don't open them yet. There's something we have to do about this die first. She says, we need to go forth and find where the die was rumored to be first created. The Cliffs of Insanity.
Oh, that sounds fun. Guys, I've heard of this place. It's really nice in the summer.
It is nice in the summer.
Why do I doubt?
And
That's more my family.
That is where this portion of the campaign ends.
Oh, cliffhanger.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh my gosh. That was good.
Okay,
I
so
like
I want to open my box.
So open it. You gotta do something with it, but you gotta wait till next episode.
I tell Alara to hold out the die, and I bring the box to it. I'm not touching that thing.
Faces the die.
Elaria goes like this. No. She's like, no,
That's
no,
hilarious.
no.
My gosh. Decoy, whatever.
And that concludes today's episode of Dungeons and Drafting. Stay tuned next time. I am your DM, Tom.
I'm Brooks.
I'm Sean.
And I'm MK.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Good night. Bye.
Quack.